Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sean Synapse. All right, let's get right to the trivia question from last time because I know you're all dying to know the answer. Now, as you all know, the Super Bowl is this Sunday, and the two teams meeting are the New England Patriots and the LA Rams. Just recently, this past October, the two teams that met in the World Series were the Boston Red Sox and the LA Dodgers. There's only one other time in Super Bowl/World Series history this has happened, and that was actually your trivia question from last time. The year this happened was 1969, and I'll go ahead and start with the World Series first. The World Series was between the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Mets. This goes down as one of the greatest upsets in World Series history. The Mets did win the series 4-1. However, the Orioles did win the first game, but the Mets did win 4 straight. That Orioles squad was considered to be one of the finest ever, with Boog Powell, Frank Robinson, and probably one of the greatest defensive third baseman of all time in Brooks Robinson. The Amazing Mets were given the nickname, or the Miracle Mets, whatever you want to call them. Actually, that nickname was coined by Casey Stengel, the manager from 1962 to 1965. Gil Hodges was the manager of the 1969 team. Now, to shift gears a little bit to the Super Bowl, the answer is Super Bowl III, that was played between the then Baltimore Colts and the New York Jets. And this took place at Miami at the Orange Bowl in 1969. 3 days prior to kickoff, Joe Namath, the quarterback of the Jets at the time, guaranteed victory. And this goes down as one of the greatest upsets in Super Bowl history. In fact, the Jets did win the game 16-7. So are you all wondering how the Baltimore Colts got to Indianapolis? Well, in 1984, the owner at the time, Bob Irsay, packed up the team in the middle of the night without anybody knowing about it while the city of Baltimore slept and moved the team from Baltimore to Indianapolis. So for those of you who said 1969 is the year and the two cities as Baltimore and New York, good job. Okay, today's episode I'm going to talk about my 5 top favorite sports movies of all time. This was really hard, so I have 2 honorable mentions to go with it. Now, when you watch a sports movie, it's all about heart, determination, not giving up, believing in yourself, and fighting till the very end. So next week, I'll talk about my top 5 movies of all time that are not sports related. So let me go ahead and start with my 2 honorable mentions. Now, a lot of people are going to think these 2 honorable mentions should be in the top 5. Well, that's why I like to do these shows and get everyone's opinion. So tell me what your top 5 favorite sports movies are of all time. My first honorable mention is going to go to 1988, Bull Durham. What a great movie with Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins, and Susan Sarandon. I almost wanted to put this in my top 5. The second honorable mention will go to the movie made in 1986, Hoosiers. Now, the only reason Hoosiers is not in my top 5, it was a fantastic movie with Gene Hackman. The only reason it's not in my top 5 is because I've only seen it once. So to my top 5 sports movies of all time. Number 5, 1993, Rudy. The true story about Rudy Rudiger, who wanted to play football at the University of Notre Dame and get a college degree from the University of Notre Dame. Talk about not giving up. Talk about heart, determination, and following your dream. And he was the first player carried off the field in 1975, and then Mark Edwards was the second player carried off the Notre Dame field a couple years later. My favorite quote in that movie is by Sean Astin at the very end when they're getting ready to run out on the field to play against Georgia Tech for the last game of the regular season, and the captain calls Rudy up front and says, "Are you ready for this?" And Rudy says, "I've been ready for this my whole life," and gets to take the team out on the field. Number 4 on the list. I had to pick a comedy. I know Bull Durham's a comedy, but I had to pick this comedy because if I don't pick a comedy, people are going to think something is wrong with me. So, number 4 on my list, 1989 Major League. What a cast. Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes. And actually, the guy that played Serrano in that movie does the State Farm commercials now. So, yes, that's him. But I laugh every time that I see this movie. I will watch this movie over and over again when it's on Major League Baseball Network. I love the movie Major League. So my favorite scene and quote in that movie is when all the guys are in the locker room and they're basically finding out that the owner wants to replace them with players that will not win and will be in the cellar of the division. That way she can pick the team up. and move him to Miami. Well, Tom Berenger's character is, they're all sitting around and the coach comes in and says, tells them what's going on. And then they're like, everyone's like, well, what are we going to do about it? And Tom Berenger's character stands up and says, win the whole effing thing. I love it. What a great movie. Number 3 on the list, 1984, Robert Redford, The Natural. I love this movie. Now, obviously, it's not a true story, but it is a phenomenal movie. In fact, Robert Redford should have won an Academy Award for this. It was absolutely phenomenal. In fact, in the movie, he was originally going to go out try out for the Chicago Cubs, but then he's shot by Barbara Hershey's character, and that kind of delays his dream to follow, so he ends up playing for the New York Knights 15 or 16 years later. So my favorite scene in the movie, Wilford Brumley does play the head coach or the manager for the New York Knights. Now, it's Roy Hobbs, or that's the character played by Robert Redford. It's his first at bat. So he goes up there, and they're playing against the Phillies. Go figure that. And it's thundering and lightning, and it's raining. And Wilford Brumley's character says, all right, Hobbs, knock the cover off the ball. And obviously, he is exaggerating. But what does Roy Hobbs do? He knocks the cover off the ball. I love that part. All right. Number 2 on the list. This is the only movie on the list to win an Academy Award. And I'm originally from this city, the fighting city of Philadelphia. How can you not love Rocky? I mean, talk about heart, determination, believing in yourself, not giving up, and you know what, fighting for something you believe in, standing up for yourself. I will watch this movie over and over again. Rocky is definitely in the top 5. So my favorite quote in that movie is when Burgess Meredith's character, Mickey, is training him, and Mickey's quote is, you're going to eat lightning and crap thunder. What a great quote. Number 1 on the list, 1989, which I also think should have won an Academy Award. In fact, I think it was up for Best Picture, but did not win Best Picture. Number 1 on the list, Field of Dreams, with Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones and Ray Liotta, who played Shoeless Joe Jackson. I cry every time I see this movie. I don't know what it is, but I love the ending where Ray Kinsella, played by Kevin Costner, gets to see his dad again, and they have a catch. That's just a great scene. It's just great. But my favorite quote in the movie, because it makes me think of Jenna, is at the very beginning when Kevin Costner's character, Ray Kinsella, is kind of introducing, the story and how they got to Iowa. And the quote is, the only thing we have in common is that she was from Iowa and I had once heard of Iowa. So that kind of makes me think of Jenna. Wait, I actually have pictures and footage of me running the bases. I'm actually running the bases at Field of Dream, and there's pictures. One of my favorite pictures is me standing by the corner. Now in the movie, I also love when the guys go into the corn, kind of just disappear like this. Okay, I'm back. But the corn, well, you'll see in the picture, the corn was like this tall, so I was kind of bummed that I didn't get to go hide in the corn. So those are my top 5 favorite sports movies of all time. So if you have a suggestion or one that I should take off or move or maybe add that I didn't talk about, please let me know. Real quick, before I get to the trivia question for this week, I just want to brief discussion about the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think whoever controls the line of scrimmage and is able to run the ball is going to win the game. Obviously, I am rooting for the Rams, but you can't go against Tom Brady. This is experience versus youth. This is, a dynasty versus maybe, possibly, the new dynasty coming in. Who knows? But who's ever able to run the ball and control the line of scrimmage is going to win the game. I can't bet against Tom Brady, so I'm going to pick the Patriots to win 27-14. 24. Now, to my trivia question. The trivia question is, I have it right here, the last sequel to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. So, what is the last sequel to win Academy Award for Best Picture? I'll give you a hint. It's not The Godfather. Thanks for watching. Keep watching. Keep subscribing. You guys are great. I appreciate all the support. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm out of here.